Can we talk about something that nobody maybe really appears you for, me for, all of us for? Because everybody talks about growing. Everyone talks about leveling up, about becoming the best version of themselves. But do we ever talk about what you lose in that process? Do you talk about the friendships that quietly stop fitting? The ones that used to feel like home and now feel like a costume you can no longer wear? The ones where you love the person, but you cannot keep pretending that you're still the same woman you were when you met. That grief is real. And today, we're going to talk about it. So I'm looking at him, empowerment coach, over 20 years in the human service and social work and clinical field, working alongside women, youth, and families. This is the Empowerment Clique. And this is a space where we talk, gather around. You ask a lot of questions. I love to help you give you the best answers I can give you. So let's get into today's topic. I want to start by seeing something very clearly. This video is not about cutting people off. It's not about becoming someone who walks away easily or treats relationships as supposed disposables, products, or objects. I want to say that up front because I know how that conversation can get, and that is not where I'm going today. What I want to talk about is something more nuanced than that, more honest than that, something that I think a lot of women who are in the season of real growth, but as you get older and you're in your middle season, I could or talk about myself. I should be at 50 and I'm quietly carrying those objects, those relationships, those fears, those nuance. And that is the grief of friendship that cannot keep up with who you're becoming. Because here's the solid, hard truth. Not everyone who you are meant to be in your life will be there. You ever heard of that for a season, what's meant to be in your life for a lifetime? And that's not the failure. That's not betrayal. That's the honest reality of what happens when two people grow. And sometimes they grow in different directions. But knowing that intellectually and feeling it emotionally are two very different things. And I think we do, as women, a disservice when we talk about outgrowing relationships like that. It's supposed to feel clean and easy and very obvious. Because most of the time, it does not feel like that at all. Most of the time, it feels like a loss, like grief, like mourning someone who is still alive. And that grief deserves to be named. So let me tell you what this actually looks like, because friendships drift slow, quiet, pulling apart two people who used to be close, very close, had a very specific feeling to it. It feels like running out of things to talk about when someone you used to talk to for hours. Not because the love is gone, but because your worlds have moved so far apart that the common ground has gotten really thin. It feels like dreading a phone call you used to look forward to it. Not because anything happened, because you know that after you hung up, you're going to feel more alone than you did when you picked up the phone. It feels like editing yourself in a friendship, going back to an older version of yourself when you was around a certain person because the new version of you makes them uncomfortable. And you love them enough to shrink, but you are getting tired of shrinking. It feels like realizing that the friendship was built on a version of you that no longer exists. And you are not sure how to tell them that or if you should even should. Does any of that resonate or sounds familiar? Because as you progress in your life, as you change careers, as you shift, as you become around and be in different circles, this becomes especially acute because you have less tolerance for pretending. You have less energy for maintaining relationships that require you to be someone you're not. You have less time for conversation that's deep, you're very empty. And you have more self-awareness, painful, beautiful, necessary awareness about what actually feels you. what actually feeds you versus what drains you. And sometimes the self-awareness reveals something very hard and difficult to realize. And a friendship you have for years, decades, is one of the things that's draining you. Not because that person is bad, but because the friendship wasn't, not because it was a mistake, but because you have both changed. And that version of that friendship that existed now is running on history, and the obligation is more than a genuine connection. That's real. Now, I want to talk about what do you do with that feeling, because I think there are more options than we need to talk about. The first option I always say is honest conversation. The one where you say, I feel like we have drifted and I miss you, and I want to figure out if there's a version of this friendship that works for us both right now. That conversation is very hard, but it's also the one that gives the friendship a real chance. The second option is a neutral one, where you stop forcing the connection and let it find its own level. Some friendships do not end dramatically. It's become less frequent. That's central. And that is okay. It does not mean they did not matter. It just means they have found their right size in something else. Then you have the one that's probably most hardest. This intentional release. Where you recognize this friendship is actually costing you something very important, i.e., peace, growth, sense of self. And you make that decision out of the love for yourself and honestly out of a love for them too, to quietly and simply let it go. None of these options are easy. All of them involve grief. And I want to give you permission to really grieve, because the loss of friendship, even ones that needed to end, is a real loss. It deserves acknowledgement. It deserves space. It does not need to be rushed past or minimized or explained away. You're allowed to miss someone and still know that friendship could not survive where you were going. You're allowed to love someone and still recognize that their presence in your life was keeping you smaller than you needed to be. It's okay. You are allowed to be grateful for what you was and honest about what it is. And you are allowed at any age to build a circle that actually fits who you are right now, not who you were. Not who people remember you being, who you actually are right in this moment, in this season, at this level of growth and self-awareness and becoming. That circle might be smaller than one you had, but it will be real. A real at 25, 35, 45, 55, whatever, is worth more than large. Knowing yourself is not selfish. It's so necessary. Check yourself so you can be yourself. This is the King Tier, and this is the Empowerment Clip, and this is a vibe check. Peace.